steals, stuffs, and scores and cuffs. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect trio of defensive guards, but Professor Presti accidentally added an extra ingredient to the concoction: dog. Thus, the OKC Guard Dawgs were born. Using their ultra superpowers, Alex, Lou, and Cason have dedicated their lives to fighting buckets and the forces of evil. Do the Thunder have the best trio of guard defenders in the entire NBA? Sam Presti was busy in his bag this summer when he traded for Alex Caruso. This move would add a two-time All-NBA defender to an already stacked defensive roster, and more specifically, create a trio of elite perimeter defenders at the guard spot for OKC in Caruso, Lou Dort, and Cason Wallace. Alex Caruso made his name rising out of the G League and eventually played a major part on a Lakers title team before becoming a perennial all-defense candidate in Chicago. Lou Dort also got his start in the G League before getting a shot on the main roster with the Thunder and working his way into the starting lineup, and later famously had an iconic playoff series guarding James Harden, who was coming off a season nearly averaging 37 points a game and was held in that series to under 30 a game by Dort in a 7-game battle that put the name Dort on the NBA map as a defender that demanded attention. Cason Wallace was a highly rated two-way prospect out of Kentucky that OKC traded up for in the 2023 NBA draft. Cason in his rookie season hit the ground running and justified all his pre-draft defensive hype, as night after night, even into the playoffs, Wallace was immediately trusted with guarding some of the best, most talented, and dangerous scorers in the world. Throughout the team's history since moving to OKC, one of the constants for the Thunder has been having high-level defensive-first guards in the starting lineup. Thabo Sefolosha was the first to really make a high-level impact as a starter on the only OKC team to ever reach an NBA Finals, along with an All-NBA defensive team appearance for the Thunder in the 2009-2010 season. Sefolosha's successor was Andre Robertson, an absolutely monstrous perimeter defender who peaked with a top 5 Defensive Player of the Year season and a single NBA All-Defensive team, but was limited due to his lack of offensive tools and an unfortunate late career knee injury. After Robertson, there were a few stopgap players before Lou Dort broke out with the likes of Terrence Ferguson, Hamidou Diallo, and Corey Brewer all trying to take on the elite defensive guard mantle for the Thunder. Going to the 2024-2025 season, the Thunder will not have just one, not two, but three high-level defensive guards with all defense potential on their roster. Not only is this the highest amount of this archetype of player that the Thunder has rostered at one time, but they can all play together as well and even have their own group chat known as the Mo Wings or Movement Wings group chat, including Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, Lou Dort, and Aaron Wiggins. So apologies to the man who saved basketball for not including him in this video.
I don't know what went into that process. I met the criteria to be selected, but I wasn't.
You have heard of a love triangle, but for scorers with the Thunder on their schedule, this is more of a death triangle. OKC's already elite defense, which will be anchored by the likes of Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, will now also be able to roll out 48 minutes of elite guard perimeter defense. According to Caruso, the Thunder have already had to temper the guard dog lineups being rolled out in camp.
You know, we kind of have to make sure we get stuff done in training camp, so we can't put everybody on the same team, or else that might be a difficult time for the offense to execute the new stuff.
Like I previously mentioned, you can play all three at once, 2 at a time, or even stagger all 3 if you want to. But however Mark Daigneault tasked these point-of-attack guard dogs, it will be like a wrestling tag team with a revolving door of hungry dog defenders ready to defend like crazy. All 3 of the OKC guard dogs are absolute pests defensively. There might as well be a giant flashing "proceed with caution" sign anytime these guys are on the floor, and especially when they're guarding the ball. Caruso, Dort, and Wallace all constantly pick and probe ball handlers getting into their space and their dribble to throw off their rhythm, disrupt actions, and overall just try to apply mass amounts of pressure. All 3 of these ace defensive guards may only be in between 6'3" to 6'5", but that doesn't stop them from getting in on the action and blocking shots as well. None of them are jump out of the gym types of athletes, but they all play extremely well with timing up these blocks on the backside or meeting the shooter at the peak of their shot and getting a hand on the ball. Also, all three really thrive with these low down blocks that look to the naked eye a lot of times like steals, but what is actually happening is rather than trying to meet a player's shot at the summit, one of the guard dogs is blocking the shot on its way up before it even has a chance to be released in a shooting motion up top. But even if there are a lot of similarities in the ways that all three of these studs defend, there are still some really identifiable qualities and talents that separates each of these players from their elite teammates when it comes to getting stops. Caruso is the vet and the most accomplished of the trio, going into his 8th season as a pro. I previously mentioned that he's already made 2 different all-defensive teams, along with being a key contributor to a championship in 2020 with the Lakers during the bubble. Caruso is about as sound as it gets when it comes to becoming a fundamental defender. He's mastered all the little things and core attributes that help a player become elite defensively. He's the definite leader in the 3-man clubhouse as a steals generator, averaging nearly as many steals by himself as Lou and Cason did last season combined. Caruso is an absolute ball hawk, whether he's guarding the ball, playing on the weak side, helping on, or trapping the ball. Whenever he sees the ball more times than not, he's going to make an impact on the possession. Earlier I mentioned low down style blocks. Caruso might be the best I've ever seen at this. If there was a school for this type of block, Caruso would have graduated with his master's and at the top of his class. He has lightning quick hands that he can use to deny the offensive player any chance of rising up into a jump shot, but I'm going to leave it to gilgeous-alexander to sum up what it's like being guarded by Alex Caruso.
Exactly what it's been in the past, annoying as hell.
Lu Dort is far and away the most physical of the 3 Thunder guard dogs. He has an elite combination of strength, size, foot speed, and hands that all contribute to him being one of the very best on-ball defenders in the NBA. Since becoming a full-time starter, Lu has been tasked with the most difficult matchup pretty much on a nightly basis. Other than centers and some larger fours, whenever other teams' stars and best players match up with the Thunder, they're entering the torture chamber. To quote Heath Ledger's Joker, Lu Dort is an agent of chaos. He's constantly blowing up actions and throwing monkey wrenches into opposing teams' offensive plans, or stars trying to get in rhythm. Because of his strength, lateral quickness, and outright stubbornness, he's borderline impossible to screen. He does a phenomenal job of navigating these picks, fluidly going over or under with precision and refusing to concede a switch. Because of his unique screen navigating talents, you see more and more teams go the extra mile when setting picks on him, and he's adapted by drawing fouls on those moving screens on what seems like a nightly basis that OKC fans can almost fill in as a free spot on an OKC Thunder bingo card. Lou is a loose ball demon, where anytime there's a tip, deflection, or the ball is up for grabs, you can almost guarantee Lu Dort is not only going to be the first man to the ball, but he will dive, roll, crawl, or do whatever he can to get to it. Lastly on Lou, this is one of my favorite things about his game that I feel like a lot of times goes completely unnoticed. There's the fundamental closeout where the defender puts a hand in the shooter's face or tries to get a touch on the ball, then there's the Lu Dort closeout. It's like Lou is in a kung fu movie, these giant exaggerated swings and jerks of his arms around the shooter. I asked him about this last season and he jokingly told me that he's just trying stuff out there and seeing what sticks. And this stuck apparently. I don't have the firm numbers on how these Dort closeouts actually impact shooting percentages, but I know I love it anytime I see Lou bring out the karate chop closeout. We've reached the 3rd and final OKC guard dog in Cason Wallace. Cason last year in a lot of ways was launched straight into the fire by the Thunder and Mark Daigneault, but that doesn't have to be a negative thing. To a degree, he may have been thrown to the wolves being tasked with guarding some of the best players in the NBA right out of the gate. Still, at the same time, these were assignments the OKC coaching staff trusted Cason enough to take on, and throughout the season, that belief and confidence in Cason continued to be justified. Through his first 8 playoff games, opponents shot 14 of 54 or 25.9% from the field when Cason Wallace was the primary defender according to ESPN Stats and Info. This was the lowest field goal percentage to be allowed this playoffs by a player who was the primary defender on at least 50 shot attempts. While watching film for this project, one thing that really stood out to me was just how natural Cason is as a defender. His instincts are on another level. It really gets to the point where it feels like he has a special spidey sense where he's able to react half a second quicker than everybody else on the floor at times. Alex Caruso and Kenrich Williams both also recently praised Cason Wallace's defensive chops and instincts during the Thunder's media day.
I think that Cason has very good instincts on defense. Stuff you can't teach.
Yeah, he's got great instincts. Like I said, come in at such a young age. You know, at his age, I was going into my junior year, sophomore year of college, trying to figure out how I was going to stop guys at Mississippi State and Kentucky. And he was in the NBA guarding, all-pro, 10-year veteran. So just to start, the confidence and the amnesia you have to be a good defender in the NBA to kind of forget about the last play and move on to the next is really impressive. And then, like I said, his instincts, like he's got a knack for finding the ball. rangy, athletic. You know, he moves side to side really well. I think once he figures out like the game, you know, like once everybody, that's what they say, once you figure out the game, your natural talent can meet that. That's when you really start playing. I think he was playing a lot off instinct and a lot off just feel for the game last year. I think once he gets a couple more years under his belt, like, it's going to be really scary.
I've compared Cason to the Honey Badger before as being a guy who just does not care. If Cason sees the ball, he's going to make a play on the ball. He's a quiet assassin who doesn't talk any trash and takes care of business on the defensive end with an incredibly high ceiling. But what do you think? Are you excited to see all three of the OKC Guard Dawgs in action together? And how good do you think the Thunder's defense can be this season? Let me know down in the comment section below. And finally, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and checking out some of my other Thunder breakdowns and spotlights. Thanks so much for tuning in, and until next time, thanks for watching.